Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Blue Whale. I'm back. Sorry, I'm trying to get the mic in a pretty good spot. I'm back, sorta. We're gonna talk about some stuff. But first, this video is gonna be. It's not really gonna be half and half because we're gonna talking about leagues. Gonna take a little bit longer, I think. But part of this video is gonna be me talking about where I've been, plans on the channel, stuff like that. Kind of apologizing for my 4 or 5 months absence. Sorry, I don't know how long it's been. And then the second half is going to be us talking about League. Now, if you just want the League part, use the little YouTube. You guys know the little bar at the bottom. The scene's going to look like this with me in the corner, but pretty much like this when I'm talking about League. So you can just kind of probably skip along the bottom and then see when it changes, and then we'll be talking about League then. So see you guys later. And now everyone that cares about all the other stuff, we're going to talk about where I've been, stuff about the channel, stuff like that. So first off, I had a job. I don't know how much I talked about it on YouTube, but I worked at a restaurant. The restaurant was kind of a step between a fast food restaurant and an actual decent restaurant to go to. So we called it quick food. It was like a call-in restaurant. Like usually you called ahead and then showed up in about 10 minutes. We had the food ready, stuff like that. Anyways, I work at this restaurant and I've got a 1-bedroom apartment. And for a long time, I made just enough money to live at my apartment. Just enough. And by that I meant every end of the month when I'd paid all my bills, or beginning of the month, that's kind of how it worked here, but it doesn't matter. Bank accounts left with like $10 most in it. Like just enough money to live. And I had a lot more free time then, and that's why I still made some videos. That was back when I was still making videos. Then I get offered a promotion at the job, and I take the job. I take the promotion for the pay raise. When I take the promotion, they tell me my hours aren't really going to change. I'm going to have some more responsibilities. The responsibilities being making schedules, hiring people, firing people. I got promoted to general manager, so I was the boss of everyone. So I also had to do advertising for the restaurant, which was talking to advertising people, which is totally AIDS. I don't recommend anyone ever do that. And then I had to, worry about the general well-being of the restaurant. It's a lot more responsibility, but it's nothing I couldn't handle. I'm okay with the responsibility. That's probably why they wanted to promote me, right? All that's fine. Also, in a little side note, they mention that, it's my responsibility to make sure the restaurant's okay. It's my responsibility to make sure everyone shows up and does their job. If they don't, then I need to fire them, which, makes sense. But the problem here is the job I worked at, starting pay is minimum wage. And I don't know how many of you guys are in the workforce yet, but if you know about minimum wage jobs, you should know that people don't really care about minimum wage jobs. So they don't care whether they don't show up, whether they're fired, rehired, whatever. You can get a minimum wage job very easily. They're kind of a dime a dozen, especially if you already have experience in a restaurant. Even if you got fired or quit abruptly, they're probably likely to hire you because almost every starting restaurant has a really high turnover rate, so they're always looking for employees. And it just is this cycle of the employees don't really care about their job, so sometimes they stop showing up, etc. I had to deal with that, and even that's not that bad. But what happened was I got promoted. A lot of people quit. A lot of longtime employees quit, and I don't think it had to do with me getting promoted. I know all of them personally, and I know they moved on to better jobs, or they went to focus on school or whatever. The first wave of good employees leaves, right? And I'm hiring people. It's not that bad at this point. This is kind of February. It's not too bad. It's also, I live in a college town. I should mention that. I live in the home of UGA, the Bulldogs. Pretty big school. And pretty much everything in Athens, which is the home of the college, revolves around the school semester. So near the end of semesters, everything gets busier because the students... Well, especially restaurants get busier because the students want to go out and buy food really quickly rather than cook themselves, so they have more time to study or party, whatever they're focused on. But it's a lot more buying food so you have free time than it is cooking your own food or stuff like that, right? Which is fine. February, it's not a big deal. People are quitting. I'm rehiring people. Some people don't work out. I have to fire some people quit. It's fine. But then I'm working about 7 or 8 shifts a week. Then even more people quit, and we start getting busier. We start getting really busy, and no one really knows why. But we're serving on weekends. We're serving well, I don't remember the people total, and we're going through thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm not going to give any specific numbers, I guess, because that'd be really shitty of me, but I did do all the money work. I know exactly how much money we made, what we went through, which was also kind of pitiful how much money I made. But anyways, we're making a lot of money. We're serving a lot of customers. It's kind of abnormal at this time of the year. This is like March, my birthday's at the beginning of April. It's April 4th, by the way. So anyways, we're getting a little bit busier. So I'm scheduling myself more because we need more employees, and the people I'm hiring aren't working out, or people are quitting, or people are asking off. A lot of our employees are college students, so they're also asking off of work so they can focus on their school. I'm scheduling myself a little bit more. We're up to 9 shifts a week. It gets worse. Same stuff keeps happening. I'm up to 10 shifts a week minimum. Now my shift times, the minimum that a manager would work is 5.5 hours. The most is 7 hours. So we'll just call it 6 hours as the average. I know that's not the absolute average, but we'll call it 6 hours. Make it easy. I'm working 10 shifts a week, each one 6 hours. That's 60 hours a week. It's already a lot. Now I know some people do that for their life, you know, especially people that have families to support, but I don't even have a girlfriend. I'm just me. I'm only supporting me. And I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. I didn't plan on being a manager of a shitty restaurant until I'm 60. You know, that wasn't the plan. This was a part-time thing, and I was trying to do YouTube in the meantime. But at this point, I'm working 60 hours a week. It's getting a little hectic. Then I'm scheduling myself for 10 shifts a week. On top of that, if people quit in the middle of the week and I can't get someone to come in and cover them, I have to come in and cover them because that's my job. So anywhere from 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 shifts a week. And then 10 shifts a week was kind of the lowest I would schedule myself. Sometimes, I think the most I actually scheduled myself was 13 shifts a week, but that's not the most I worked in a week. That's just what I knew I was working in that week, right? Anyways, it goes from 60 hours to 80-hour weeks, somewhere in that range. My life for a few months was just work, sleep, go back to work, sleep, go back to work. And I mean, I could handle it, but I just really didn't have the time to make any YouTube videos or do anything that I wanted to do. It was all just about work. And the reason I stayed at the job so long was because I couldn't have afforded to quit and go to a minimum wage job and live at my apartment. Remember that just getting by that we mentioned earlier? So I needed to keep the job. Luckily, the only bright side of this is I was able to save up some money because I work so much. So now I don't have to work as much. So anyways, I'm working at this job. And then I quit near the end of June. And now I know it's near the end of July. For about 2 to 3 weeks, I did some streaming. If you were following me on Twitch or Twitter, you would have seen that and you may have stopped by. I didn't announce it on YouTube because that's not really fair for me to just throw it on YouTube, say, hey, I'm streaming, but I'm not giving you guys content. The main reason I didn't give YouTube content, because content was going to be about League of Legends, we all know that, and I didn't get to play League on this forced hiatus that I was on, so I was really, really bad at League, and I mean, it was okay to stream it, you know, I just let the stream know, I suck, you can come watch me for me, but it's not really teaching. You know, and that's what I like to do on the YouTube channel mostly, is just teach. Also, YouTube is a little bit more work than streaming. I like doing both, don't get me wrong. But streaming, I can just press start streaming and go, and that's it. YouTubing, I have to record, have to make sure things are all right, edit, process, upload. It's a little bit harder, but there's nothing wrong with that. There's just a difference between the two, is all I should say. So anyways, streamed for a few weeks, and then I had to move out of my apartment. My old lease, I wasn't going to stay at this apartment because it's too expensive. My old lease ended July 15th. So for the first 2 weeks of July, I didn't buy or rent a moving truck. I was trying to save money, but it probably would have been a lot easier just to rent a damn trailer or something. Anyways, I have a pickup truck, but it's a pretty small pickup truck. I'm making trips back and forth. I'm at my parents' house right now. I was making trips back and forth from my apartment to here, taking stuff. I had to clean up the apartment really well. I don't know how it works where you guys live if you don't live in the U.S., or I don't even know if it works like this in other states. But here in Georgia, it's pretty common for you to put a security deposit down when you first move into an apartment. And then based on the damages or how trashy you leave the apartment, they will charge you out of that security deposit when they give it back to you after you move out, because it is a deposit. You do get it back. I wanted my whole deposit back, so I spent a lot of time making sure my apartment was in good shape. This takes up the first 2 weeks of July. On July 15th, I've got everything set. pack up, move out, and I've heard that I'm getting all but $10 out of my security deposit, which is pretty good news. I'm glad for that. So I'm glad I did all that work. But anyways, that's where I was then. And now I've been at my parents' house, and I've been pretty busy here just helping them take care of stuff because I'm helping out while I'm here, right? But I mean, not so busy that I couldn't stream, but I mean, I can't stream. The internet's too slow. I can't stream. But that I couldn't record because the reason I didn't record is because I had really bad allergies. No one wants to see me here talking, my nose stopped up, blowing my nose every 10 minutes at the least, probably every like 5 minutes. That's not good content, right? Or I could just edit it all out, but holy shit, that would take forever. So now everything's good, feeling healthy, don't have that much stuff to do. I'm out of that one apartment, everything's fine, so we're back here making videos. Now, as for plans for the channel, like I just mentioned, it's going to be League of Legends content. That's what everyone's here for. That's what I'm best at making, for sure. I do plan on branching out of League, not stopping playing League. I don't mean that at all, just providing other content with League, kind of like that Dark Souls thing. If you cared about the Dark Souls, I didn't play Dark Souls on my own, so I can definitely still make gameplay of it, but it's way down the line. We're not going to even mess with other games for now. It's going to be about League of Legends. Anyways, plans for the channel. I don't know how the schedule is going to look for these next couple weeks. I move into my new apartment on August 8th. That's also why I had to move to my parents, because my old lease ended on July 15th. That wasn't negotiable, and the new lease began on August 8th. That also wasn't negotiable, but the apartment that I got's really good, so I'm really happy with the place. The only drawback was I had to live at my parents for about 3 weeks, which is fine, but that's the drawback. So YouTube videos, I'm going to make as many as I can, but I can't guarantee any kind of schedule, anything like that. As for when August comes, I do plan on streaming 5 or 6 days a week for at least 5 or 6 hours each stream. They might drag on more depending on how I'm feeling. They might be less if I'm like in a really shitty mood, but I doubt it. And then YouTube videos, I'll shoot for 5 or 6 YouTube videos a week too. I think that's fair to give equal parts content. There'll definitely be like streaming highlight videos as part of those videos because I'll be streaming so much. But we'll still do in-depth guides, everything like that. I do have an idea for a new series. It's going to be called Tips and Tricks. In that series, I'm probably going to, well, I know what I'm going to do. Every champion that I'm comfortable with, I'll be highlighting their abilities or tips on how to use them, stuff like that. And then with those videos, I can reference back to those videos and all my future videos that regard that champion, and it cuts down the length of all those videos a lot. So like my in-depth guides, you guys know that's like 20 minutes of each one of those is me talking about the abilities. I can already knock that out in a separate video and then just tell you guys to go watch it. And those videos on their own are going to be pretty good content, because even if you don't play the champion, I would recommend watching these tips and tricks videos, because you can learn how to play versus the champion. You know, knowing how a champion works isn't only good when you're playing them, it's also good when you're playing versus them, so you can know what to expect. So I think it's going to be a pretty good series on its own, and it'll shorten down the length. And we all know my videos are excessively long. Now, they're all still going to be pretty long. I'm not going to shoot for the 10-minute only videos that, you know, every YouTuber does, but I can cut down some length on those and make this new series. In-depth guides will be coming back. I guess I should also talk about Echo videos for a little bit. Echo Jungle is absolutely dead, and Riot killed that with removing Strength of the Ages and removing Echo's passive slow. So I'm not going to be playing Echo Jungle, and I'm not going to make any guides on it. But Echo is actually very good mid. So if you really want to play Echo, play him mid. If there's a lot of demand for an Echo video, I might make an Echo mid video, but there aren't going to be any Echo Jungle videos because it just doesn't work. I've tried so much, and if you watch my stream, you know that I tried it a ton, but I'm done trying that right now. And I guess I can go ahead and change scenes because we're going to just talk about League. If you guys have any more questions about me, of course, comment section's there for a reason. Just ask. I don't mind. All right, but anyways, let's do this, and let me change my Alright, we're back on the League client with me in the corner. Hi. Or, sorry, hi. Sorry, I like to look at the thing. But anyways, we're going to be talking about League from now on. So anyways, with Echo, what they killed to make him not viable was, it's not here, it's in Masteries. When they changed this Mastery to Courage of the Colossus, even though Echo could technically proc it on his W, Strength of the Ages was way better on Echo. It just gave him a lot of health, which freed up his build a lot. So that was a big nerf. And then also removing Echo's passive slow really killed him. He does a lot more damage now, and that's why he's good as a mid lane assassin, but he doesn't have powerful enough ganks and doesn't do enough damage without items to be a jungle assassin. So that's why he has to stay mid. But he's good mid, and if there's a lot of demand, I will make a video on him. Now, let's talk about just League in general. If you're worried about my rank, I'm Plat 4 right now. I was Plat 3 like 5 days ago. I haven't played because it's been my mom's birthday, so we did a lot of stuff for my mom's birthday. But I assume that I'm going to be Diamond. Maybe not before I move into my new apartment, but pretty damn quickly after, because it's just about putting in the games right now. It's not, I was in a state where I didn't know how to play League, but I know how to play League now. Now it's just about putting in the games and actually grinding the rank, because, you know, I don't win and go up a division every time I win. It takes a while. But anyways, League, the meta for League right now is grouping, period. It's been that way ever since about mid-season. Might have been that way longer, but that's when, you know, that's the real noticeable change. You group in League. That's how you win. Split pushing is honestly kind of troll. Now, if you're watching High Elo stream, I'm not trying to call out anybody that says split pushing is viable, because of course there are different things depending on the game, but general rules to follow: group, just group, man. Sorry, I had to burp. They're basically, as junglers, which we're going to be talking from a jungler point of view because that's me. As junglers, there are kind of 4 early game objectives that if you get all 4 of them, you're going to win the game, no matter what. Well, not no matter what, you know, sometimes people leave the game, but as long as your team's trying and you get these 4 objectives, you win. Those objectives are first, and this is in descending order of importance. Is that the right way to say it? Number 1's the most important, and number 4 is the least important, right? Alright, so number 1 is getting first turret gold. Most of the time, this is easiest in the bot lane, but if their bot lane counters yours, or if their bot lane has wave clear and mobility, or you can't really get any ganks off, you know, stuff happens. Sometimes it's easier to go top or mid, but most of the time it's easier to go bot to get this first turret gold. First turret gold is probably my most important objective. First blood is kind of in that, but first blood is so... You cannot guarantee getting first blood by your influence. Sometimes your laners get in a level 1 fight and they die, and that's first blood. But first turret, you can almost always get if you play correctly as a jungler. So first turret, I prioritize first. Dragon, I usually prioritize second. Now, if it's a dragon that... I mean, all the dragons are really useful in their current state, so I'm not going to say if it's Cloud, don't get it, because Cloud is really good in a grouping meta, which is what League is in, because it helps you move around the map more. So every dragon's good. Don't argue with me that a dragon's bad. So first is first turret gold. Second is the dragon. Third is Rift Herald. Now it's really actually hard to get that first dragon and Rift Herald, but you usually want to prioritize dragon first. Now if the enemy team gets dragon and you can trade Rift Herald, that's your best course of action in that point, but if you have a choice, go for dragon first. Rift Herald as the third, and then fourth would be either mid or bot turret, whichever one you didn't get for the first turret. Or I mean, if you went top, then I would say mid probably is your next priority. Anyways, it's basically first turret gold, dragon, Rift Herald. Sorry, you can't even see my fingers. First turret gold, dragon, Rift Herald, and then a second turret. If you get all 4 of those before the enemy really gets an objective, you probably won the game, period. And those objectives can be achieved, you know, depending on whether you get snowballed or you snowball your carries. There's plenty of ways of going around it, but the main thing is that you need to group with your team to do these objectives most of the time. Now, it's good to play a jungler that can do some of the stuff by themselves, but even those junglers are still going to function better with your teammates. Everything about League is just grouping, and if your team gets a little bit of advantage and groups first, you almost always win. And if the enemy team does that, you almost always lose. You know, it's 2 sides of the same coin. Just group. Can't emphasize enough how important grouping is and how stupid split pushing is, especially as a jungler. As a jungler, you should never even think about split pushing. Now, you can clear side waves, but I mean like split pushing. There's a difference between clearing a wave and pushing it, right? Top laners, it's a little bit different because they have teleport, but really top laners should be grouping too at a certain point in the game. Just everyone group, team fight. That's it. That's how you win League. So anyways, grouping is a meta. Focus those 4 objectives first, and you're usually going to win. On that same note, if the enemy team kind of takes the early game and gets all those objectives from you, you're probably going to lose. And for me, I guess it's hard for me to see this as a weakness, because the same thing happens no matter what mentality I take into it. I feel like if the enemy team gets those 4 objectives first that I just mentioned, they're going to win. And you can ask your team to surrender. They're not going to. At my meta, at my elo, they never, ever, ever surrender, even when the game's lost. They're not going to surrender. But then the game just lasts, it could have lasted 15 minutes. Instead, it lasts 50 minutes. And you still lose. Those games are the worst to play by far, when, you think it's over 35 minutes ago, but your team keeps going. And then you lose anyways. Isn't that fun? Anyways, just wanted to kind of throw that in there. But anyways, as for jungler champions to play, I think Bruisers reign supreme in the jungle. Now, they did buff lethality on this patch, but they also kind of hotfixed Duskblade of Drakthar. But either way, assassins, if you're just really mechanically and objectively talented at the game, you can play assassins in the jungle and get away with it. But you've always been able to do that. So you'll watch like a high elo streamer that's smurfing or whatever in a low elo, playing an assassin jungler every game and always carrying. But you can't translate that really into your own games. So bruisers are where it's at, because with assassins, if your team picks more assassins after you picked an assassin, or if you're even worse than that, you pick an assassin when your team already has assassins, there's a small chance that you all pop off and you win. But more than likely, the game gets to a mid and a late game, and then if their team has a good front line, you're just so weak on an assassin, right? Especially if your team doesn't pick tanks, and you can never ever rely on your team to pick tanks in top lane, even though that's the best lane or role. Or supports, support in top lane should be a tank almost 90% of the time, but people just don't do that. So, can't rely on that, right? So assassins, you need tanks, unless you're just super mechanically gifted. Assassins, they're strong, don't get me wrong. With lethality, they're very good, but it's just unreliable. It's not going to be strength you see in every single game. Tanks are literally the exact opposite reason why, but they have the same outcome. They're also weak. And tank junglers, tank top laners are a little bit different, but tank junglers, you have to buy Cinderhulk, right? 90% of the time you need to buy Cinderhulk on a tank jungler. Gragas sometimes buys Runic Echoes, but I think ever since they buffed Cinderhulk, almost every tank jungler goes Cinderhulk, right? So you need to buy Cinderhulk. That's already used a lot of your gold, and as a tank, you're not going to get a ton of gold in the jungle, especially because it takes you longer to clear. Now, there are ways around this, but general rules, we're talking about general rules. A tank jungler is going to get less gold than almost any other role, and they already have to build Cinderhulk. Now, in a lane, a jungler might be able to trade out that Cinderhulk for a different tanky item, and a damage item, sorry, is what I'm trying to say, and then build tank after that, because they're also getting more gold than you, because they're in a lane. So anyways, tank jungler, you're really limited in how much you can impact the game, because your income is lower. Now, you can snowball lanes for sure. That's no joke. Let me look at I should probably be using the client here. Let's look at this game. I was a tank jungler. This is also part of the reason I'm ranting about it. Warwick, I think, is an exception to a rule. He's a really strong tank jungler, but Zac, let's look at Zac. Now, you look at my score, 5, 4, and 13. You could probably even look at the graph and see that I did more damage than my 80 carry to champions, right? All that's, fine and dandy. 5, 4, and 13. This was a great tank jungle game, but look who lost. Me, on Zac. I thought Zac was super broken. Yeah, you thought, huh? The problem with tank junglers is not only is my gold limited, look at my score, and then look at my gold compared to my teammates. Even this Caitlyn that did absolute dog shit in this game. I had more assists than her, less deaths than her. She still has 500 gold in me, right? This is the story of a tank jungler. You're going to get less gold. That's to be expected. As a tank jungler, you can even snowball lanes. I had this bot lane winning early game. This all happened mid to late game when they started doing their own shit. You can snowball a lane. You can build well. You can not feed. You can do everything you can in your power. If your carries won't listen to you, or, they don't have to listen to you. They just need to listen to somebody. They need to agree on something, because they got a group, because it's a group meta. We talked about that. You got a group in League of Legends right now. So your carries can decide they want to all split push, all 3 of them on my team this game, and they don't want to group. and they don't want to build defensive items, and they can't out 1v1 any of the enemies. I mean, what is this? Oh, a mobile assassin that picked off everyone that split push. Holy shit. Anyways, you can snowball lanes as a tank jungler. You can get them ahead. You can even tell them what objectives they need to focus to win. If they're not going to listen to you for objectives, you know, understandable, but they also just disagree. These two would never do the same thing the whole game. These two wouldn't. And when your team's not grouping, you're probably going to lose. And me, as the tank, I couldn't really carry team fights, especially 4v5 team fights by myself, even though I was doing pretty well because I was the tank. So, long story short, tanks rely too much on their team and don't make enough gold to really impact the games, which has always been the tank jungler problem, but it's just prominent right now. So, understand that. And then consider the third option of bruisers. Bruisers are by far my favorite thing to play in the jungle right now, because you don't only have to go... Sorry, you can build some damage and you can build tank. Let's look at... I went on a little loss streak. Yeah, get over it. Let's look at Kayn, because we're going to talk a little bit about Kayn anyways. This is Rost Kayn form. Bruiser. I get a damage item, and then I actually went straight into tank in this game, but sometimes you go Black Cleaver first on Rost, etc. You might get 2 damage items on a bruiser and then go tank. You're a mix of damage and tank. That's what a bruiser is. That's pretty much the definition of one. Bruisers can not only actually damage the enemies and carry team fights because of it, but they can also frontline if your team needs it. So if your carries are cooperating, great, you can frontline for them. If they're not cooperating, still okay. You can do enough damage on your own to make things happen on the map. But tanks just don't have that option. Now you could say, well, why don't you just build a tank as a bruiser? Their kits are just different. That's why. Don't do this to me, please. Don't point out holes in my logic. Very obvious holes. Anyways, so I think bruisers the best because they can impact fights. They make enough gold. I mean, see, look, I had more gold than my mid laner almost. I had, well, my AD carry did okay this game, but I mean, this is what I'm talking about. Bruisers have that option of doing something. Tank junglers really don't. So I recommend playing bruisers in the jungle. As for your build, most of the time, I don't know if you can even look at it in this. I don't think you can. What I like to do on almost every champion for bruisers is build an offensive mastery. So on Kayn, I usually go Thunderlords. That's the best mastery on him. Don't go Fervor. Everyone that said Fervor is fucking stupid. Go Thunderlords on him and then build a tanky build. So as you can see, I already have 2 tank items. I was going on 3 in this game. Thunderlords and a tanky build is a lot stronger than, say, Courage of the Colossus and a damage build, just because of how the way items and masteries work right now. So offensive mastery, tankier build every time that you get the option. And then what else was there? I got a little checklist here that I've been reading off. We could talk about lethality and tank items, I guess. They did just hotfix. I think I can pull up the patch notes here. Yeah, I can. Sorry, that clicking is me fidgeting with something in my hand. I kind of have a thing where I need to do that. Anyways, we're on patch 7.14 of me recording this. One of the balance updates was they made Nightbringer. They kind of chunked its damage in half early game, but it's the same late game, which they needed to do because it was ridiculously overpowered. So that got fixed. So lethality is not as crazy as it was. Singed got hotfixed because he was insane. I don't know if any of you guys played with a Singed before they hotfixed them, but it was just kind of goofy, nutty is what I like to call it. And then Nunu, I never saw Nunu going nuts, but apparently he was OP too. And then Kayn, as far as his overpoweredness, I don't think he's super OP. I think Rost is very viable, very good. I tend to do really well with it. I mean, I had a little loss streak recently, but... And also, Kayn in general, he's coming into my champion pool, and I'm going to be playing him a lot. And probably the first in-depth guide is going to be on Kayn. So expect a lot of Kayn content. But I mean, see, when I do the Rost build, and I don't mess my snowball up early, then usually I kind of pop off. This game, probably somebody DC'd or something. Let's see. There's so many fucking quitters in my elo. Or just inting. Okay, that's what that one was. Let me see. Yeah, here's another one where I just absolutely blasted off. And then this one I know there had to have been a DC. Yeah, this guy rage quit. The Tryndamere did in that game. And then what about this one? Oh, I was Shadow Assassin Kayn. Huh, that's why I lost that one, because I was Shadow Assassin Kayn. Alright, well there you go. There's the whole list of the Kayn games. So Ross is better. because it's a bruiser build. Shadow Assassin Kayn, they are actually buffing it next patch if they keep doing what they have on Surrender at 20. Well, I mean, they don't have that. Moot has that, but I mean, it's what's on PBE as well. That's what I should have said. Anyways, if they keep going with that path, they're going to buff Shadow Assassin Kayn. Might make him more viable, but most of the time you just want to go Rost. Now, we'll talk a lot more about Kayn. I don't want to make this video longer than it has to be, going through all of Kayn's stuff. So we're going to talk more about that and maybe a tips and tricks video. Definitely a commentary. There's definitely going to be a Kayn commentary coming out like within a day or two. So, okay. I shouldn't say that. I plan on recording it like soon after this, but putting myself in a time frame is always risky business. So, Kayn video coming soon. TM. But anyways, lethality build. Like I said, they nerfed Duskblade Drakthar. I don't even know how we got here talking about Kayn. They nerfed Duskblade Drakthar, but lethality is still really strong. So that's why you see a lot more assassins. One champion that's really fun to play with lethality is Hecarim. Building Youmuu's on Hecarim gives him bonus movement speed, which makes his E do more damage. And then Duskblade Drakthar also does bonus damage on his E because it's an auto attack technically. It's kind of goofy playing full lethality Hecarim. But anyways, lethality strong because Riot buffed it to where it scales with your level, not with the enemy's level, which means it works a lot better for snowballing. Because if you get a lead, it starts to work more. Before, when you got a lead, it worked the same, and it actually worked worse if your enemies were lower level. Now it just works better based on your level. So it's better for snowballing, and they super buffed Drakthar. That's why you saw kind of lethality go crazy, but it's kind of dying down after they nerfed Drakthar, which it really needed. But lethality is still very good, so you'll see a lot of that. And then the tank item build, I should have it somewhere in here. This is it on Lee Sin. So the tank item build, or tank items, I should say, that I usually go on a bruiser. Lee Sin's obviously a bruiser. I really like this build on Lee Sin. I started to go with this one. What happened to this one? I think I just had bad teammates, or maybe I played badly. Who knows? Anyways, the big items to look for on tanks, depending on what kind you're playing, you almost always want to go Knight's Vow and Iron of the Locket Solari, because they're so good when you group with your team. And I already said it like 50 times, it's a group meta, so please group with your teammates. So those two are really strong. And then if you're playing a full tank, you would want to go, what's that item called? Gargoyle Stoneplate. I didn't get it in this game or this game, but I was probably going to them both. If you get Gargoyle Stoneplate and you use it, and you get its full passive before you use Iron of the Locket Solari, you actually give your teammates a more massive shield. So that's why you see that combo a lot. But I don't always recommend Gargoyle Stoneplate on like bruisers. Like, I think this is almost a perfect Lee Sin build, because I still did a little bit of damage with Titanic, but I was really tanky, and then still a little bit more damage here. And I actually went Cinderhulk instead of Warrior. I do that almost every Lee Sin game though. But see, this build, sorry, I'm not used to talking so much. This build I like a lot for bruisers. Might trade out this for Warrior depending on the champion I'm playing, but with Lee Sin, I'm feeling Cinderhulk a lot more on him. And then Iron Lock Solari scales with Gargoyle Stoneblade, so you'll see it, Knight's Vow, Gargoyle Stoneblade a lot. Those three are really good. Thornmail, also I should obviously talk about it. Thornmail got a really big buff, and it hasn't been nerfed. It got a buff because lethality got a buff, so Riot was like, okay, we don't want lethality to go crazy, but then it did. But anyways, let's super buff Thornmail as well, so they both go crazy. That's what they did, and they haven't nerfed Thornmail yet, so Thornmail's pretty damn strong, and especially since people are still spamming lethality, even when it's not that good, Thornmail is better and better. So you'll see Thornmail a lot too. So the big items to look for on tanks are Knight's Vow, Iron of the Locket Solari, Thornmail, and maybe a Gargoyle Stoneplate, depending on who you're playing versus. That's also part of the reason why Cho'Gath is really overpowered. I don't think I played him recently, but let's just go look at the champion. They are nerfing him next patch if they keep what's on PBE. Damn, I'm not even rank 5 on I'm not even rank 4 on him, I don't think. I don't play Cho'Gath. But anyways, they made his ult like scale. Why is this not detailed? Fuck you, right? They made his ult scale a lot more to where he gets a lot more health. And then also with the introduction of this mastery, that gives you 5% total health. That with Cinderhulk, which you're going to be going on Cho'Gath, means you get a ton of life. Because of his new ult and all that, you get so much life. Then you use Gargoyle Stoneplate, and you use it correctly, you double your max life. Then you give your team an Iron of the Locket Solari shield, and it pretty much triples your AD carry's life bar for the whole team fight. So that's pretty OP. And on top of that, they also buffed how much damage Cho'Gath does. So that, along with his ridiculous amount of Iron of the Locket of the Iron Solari. That's how you say it. Okay, that item. all that together made Cho'Gath really high OP, and I think he has the highest win rate still. I haven't looked, but he had the highest win rate for a while, but more people have been playing him, so of course his win rate's going to go down, but he's pretty damn strong on 714. They're going to nerf him on 715, but I still think he's going to be as good of a tank. He's just going to do a little less damage. But anyways, that's most of the stuff I want to cover in this video. It's getting kind of lengthy. I don't see any reason to keep talking. Game video coming soon. If you guys have any questions about anything, please do ask. And also, if you don't mind, follow me on Twitch. I'm not going to ask for Twitter follows. I don't really tweet out anything at all worth a shit, so don't follow me there. Don't even follow me on YouTube because I upload so infrequently. But if you like me, follow me on Twitch because streams are pretty fun. And other than that, I've had to try to record this video, I think 6 times. So I'm really glad I finally got it fucking off. Last time I tried, it was storming outside and my power flickered. Oh. So I got my recording interrupted in half. Okay. But anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Let's go ahead and end the video. Quick stop.